Over the past 2 decades, WWE has continuously and perpetually been losing viewers year on year as wrestling fans' passion and belief in the product has wilted away under the harsh monotony and nonsensical booking that Vince McMahon and his team have been serving up on a week-to-week basis. While the company clung on to the slightest of a sliver of mainstream notoriety with well-respected and established worldwide household names that transcended wrestling, like The Undertaker, The Rock, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar over the last 10 years, the company's inability or reluctance at creating new globally known superstars has finally caught up to a dying product. Because it's not as if WWE is a small-time company that can't create global names. There really isn't much standing in their way, and they've historically shown that they can indeed produce some of the biggest names in entertainment as a whole. Vince's well-known fear at losing wrestlers to Hollywood not only limited the growth of his company, but also played an active role in decreasing the popularity of it. It seemed that the grasp on WWE held by Vince McMahon would not be let go until death do them part. And with Vince being an overall generally healthy individual, he seems like a man who is still decades away from the inevitable end of life, meaning WWE and its creative direction would be continuing in the gradual downtrend as it has been for some time now. A day that I never thought I would see was the day that Vince McMahon, reluctantly or not, stepped down as the CEO and head of creative of WWE. And on the other side of the same coin, after it looked like his career at the company was all but over, Triple H, the best booker WWE have had during his time in that position, has taken the step that so many of us thought he would when he began his project at NXT originally, and has ended up as the head of creative for WWE's main roster shows. How different the landscape of wrestling would have looked if Vince was forced to take this step back a year or two ago. To say that timing is everything would be an understatement, and if I were Tony Khan, I would be thanking whatever gods would be willing to listen that I was able to pick up so many dropped talents that Vince was willing to let go. If Triple H had any control or say on the matter, WWE's list of talent right now at their disposal would have been nothing short of terrifying from an AEW perspective. Could you imagine an AEW without Malachi Black, Andrade, Keith Lee, Swerve, Adam Cole, Red Dragon, or Samoa Joe, just to name a few? All Triple H guys, all underused by Vince McMahon and his team. All let go, free to walk to AEW. I love AEW and Tony Khan, but with the power of the main roster shows and Triple H's booking and creative, AEW would not have grown nearly as quickly and solidly as it has. Don't get me wrong, AEW would have still landed CM Punk and likely still would have landed Bryan Danielson, and those two alone would have still made a massive dent in WWE's side and still would have garnered the viewership that they got when they first entered the company. But AEW wouldn't have the same depth that they have now, the depth that has proved incredibly important throughout the company's existence. But more importantly, AEW having all of the talents Triple H took time to develop into legit guys means that WWE's rebuild and reset in vision will be a longer process than it would have been otherwise. Triple H will have to build from the ground up once again and re-establish a new core of talents he can build the company around in the future. It's actually quite exciting because if there's one thing that AEW can never match WWE in, it's history and legacy. As prestigious as AEW have treated their world title, there is nothing they can do to match the names and the reigns that the WWE title has had. WWE is a sleeping giant in every sense, and with the right man at the helmsley, that sleeping giant is dangerous. I'm not sure how much of an immediate change we'll see on WWE television, and believe me, I'm not going out of my way to watch Raw or SmackDown by any stretch of the imagination. Not just yet. But if everything goes smoothly, I don't see why I shouldn't. I don't have anything against WWE. I'm willing to give it a go if the product interests me again, and I watched NXT back in the day and enjoyed it very much until about 2016. Once I realized that the talents in NXT were getting promoted to the main roster and wasted, I lost interest in the product entirely. It made no difference how good NXT was, I had no reason to watch it. It made no sense for me anymore to cheer on my favorite wrestlers that I had grown so attached to, who I saw climb the mountains and go through the battles and become NXT champions, just for them to be promoted to the main roster and have their persona and names changed, to have them wrestle different styles, and to see them end up being completely mismanaged, misused, and inevitably fail. It was an unrelenting and sad cycle that left me disenfranchised with the entire industry until the creation of AEW. I'm not claiming that the main roster shows will turn into the black and gold NXT overnight, but I believe we'll see a rejuvenation in so many wrestlers' careers, whether they were floundering or already succeeding. I think 90% of the roster will be eagerly anticipating a fresh start and renewed vision for the company under a well-respected individual backstage. A man that so many of these professional wrestlers worked directly under, a man they respect and, more importantly, love. Triple H is far from the perfect human, and he's done his fair share of wrongdoing, specifically as a talent on the active roster, but as a suit and tie, Triple H, whether it be ego-driven or not, has turned himself into a hero in the fans' eyes with what he did in NXT. Can you imagine how he will be viewed if he is the man that leads WWE out of some of its darkest days? From deep within the abyss of nonsensical booking, repetitive matches, and scripts that make no sense, into its next golden age, and to the peak of the mountain for professional wrestling? It's hard to appreciate just how big of a moment this is in the world of professional wrestling, and it will surely be looked at in the future as a defining moment in WWE's history. Like I mentioned a couple of times already, I don't expect an immediate change. Many of Vince and his team's plans will probably be seen through, as making such a drastic change overnight will be incredibly jarring to the main roster audience, an audience that is admittedly a lot more casual than any other in the world of professional wrestling. However, make no mistake about it, come WrestleMania season in 2023, I expect to see a stark difference from today's WWE. WrestleMania itself may be an incredibly defining moment. From then until now, Triple H has a lot to clean up and a lot to fix, and also may be building someone up as the next world champion, molded in his creative vision. He may have Austin Theory cash in and begin to shape him into the professional wrestler Triple H believes he should be. The possibilities are obviously endless, and attempting to predict and book the direction this will go will be extremely hard. But I assure you, for those of you who watch, you will begin to see major changes in the next 6 to 9 months on the main roster shows in WWE, and I believe it is purely for the better. You all know me as an AEW fan. My videos have been exclusively about AEW up until this point, but I don't hate WWE. I don't even think about WWE most of the time, but WWE is what I grew up on. And truthfully, the success of WWE and the potential resurgence of its in-ring and on-air product would make me very happy. There's plenty of wrestlers on the WWE roster that I am a massive fan of. AJ Styles is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. I'm a massive fan of what Roman Reigns has developed into, and I like the look of Bron Breakker, even though I wish his name ended in Steiner. If I can enjoy both AEW and WWE, I will more than happily accept that. So yes, I will be eagerly awaiting the new version of WWE, which I hope is something that Triple H can actually deliver on. However, as an AEW fan, I must say this. Tony Khan has been riding a high ever since he brought in Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and Adam Cole. That stretch in AEW's history elevated the company, and that momentum has been ridden completely out in my books. Tony Khan needs to get back on the horse and take control of AEW in a serious way. I'm sure in his head, he's felt very safe knowing nearly all of the wrestlers who jumped ship from WWE have absolutely no desire to return to the company, and that most of the wrestlers who have never been to WWE all have that same lack of desire to go, and that was all due to one factor: Vince McMahon running the company. And that security has allowed him to feel comfortable in the way he books his roster. Up until now, Tony Khan has very acutely noticed that his company is the best option for professional wrestlers in North America wanting to take their careers seriously. You have a much better chance at succeeding in AEW than in WWE, but that could very well change, and it could change very soon. Out of contract or unhappy and disgruntled wrestlers in AEW will now have an option. An open door held by Triple H back to WWE, a new WWE. I am positive that over the next year or two, we will see wrestlers begin moving away from AEW and to WWE, whether that is a return to WWE or whether it be a debut in WWE. For once, TK has something to lose, and player power in the locker room will be at an all-time high in AEW. More demands will be made by wrestlers, and more threats of leaving will appear. Because at the end of the day, these wrestlers will begin to learn that now there is another option. It's not as if AEW can't afford to lose anyone. They'll need to trim some fat eventually anyway, but how Tony Khan tackles this issue and the upcoming battle with Triple H, who I'm certain will do his best to bring some of his talent back, will define him as a booker, a CEO, and as a wrestling mind. The idea of TK versus Triple H round 2 is actually quite juicy. Triple H had one arm tied behind his back when they fought the first time. I'm sure head-to-head, full power of WWE versus Tony Khan and AEW, Triple H will put up a very good fight. And if there's one thing Triple H is, it's egotistical. The man wants to win, and the man wants to be seen as the best, whether that be in the ring or behind the scenes. What do you guys think about the new direction for Triple H? It's certainly got my ears perked. I might be watching a couple of clips from Monday Night Raw. I might be seeing what people are saying about the shows, and who knows, I might give it a watch. All I know is that this is something that AEW should be taking seriously, and that Tony Khan should be taking seriously. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Leave a like on it. You guys have been killing the support, and the likes help the videos so much. So I'm very thankful for those of you that hit the like button. I hope you did enjoy today's video, and I hope you've had a very good day. Stay stunning.